Hello, welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. As always, I'm Owain, joined by Dan. We have 4 weeks to go until Valencia Marathon. How's everything going, Dan?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed week. I mean, we'll go through that. We'll get to that. But I think
Yeah.
before we delve into anything like serious, I think it's just worth thinking about what happened in Valencia last week. For those who didn't know, it was Valencia half marathon on Sunday. Pretty bad weather, fast conditions, but lots of rain. And then I think was just became horrendous conditions for the next couple of days. Massive floods. I think last I saw was 150 dead in the Valencia region. I mean, obviously everyone's thinking, is the marathon going to happen or not? But bigger picture, I had athletes out there who've been racing the half, and I think they're just thinking, well, I'm glad we're all fine, managed to get out safely, and I think there's been a lot of damage, and a lot of a good sized death toll, but also just all those people have lost their homes, and makes you think it's only running, isn't it? It's only running. Does it really matter?
It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, does it? Just running a few miles. I guess the issue for the marathon will be obviously death and destruction, and then there seems to be some sort of I guess growing anti-tourist sentiment in Spain as well. And I mean, I saw a video today of the King of Spain having mud thrown at him. So there's what's went on immediately in the floods, and then I guess there's sort of the response of the government and I guess the people as well, and whether a race can be run in that. But I guess what we wanted to just say was we're talking about training, but we are aware of what's going on.
And obviously we want the marathon to happen, but I could see why you wouldn't want, if you were a local in Valencia, you going, well, I've got bigger priorities than getting a load of a load of foreigners to come run around our city and dominate.
Doesn't fix your home, does it?
No,
doesn't bring back family and friends. So
no, I know. But I've heard good rumors, but it is going to go ahead. But a lot of the damage actually wasn't in the city centre; it was outside, and I've heard rumors, but things are looking good for the marathon. So hopefully there's no. I mean, I guess you can say it's bringing some money to the city. I don't know, that's having a bigger knock-on impact. If I think it's 50,000 people are doing to Valencia, and if they're not going anymore, then is that even more economic damage? I don't know, but we'll find out in the next few days, I'm sure.
And I think it's like we said, we wanted to mention it because we're talking about Valencia. Also, I mean, Dan's Strava and Twitter, I've seen people asking questions, so we just thought we'd just address it straight away as well. At the moment, not a good situation. We'll proceed as if it's happening at the moment, and we'll see what happens.
That's what I think the only thing you can do is just assume it is happening, and if it doesn't, well, I don't think it's
if it doesn't happen, you can claim you're in 2:12:29 shape, and
I'll claim I'm in 2:09 shape. I just didn't get to show it. But anyway, let's start the episode properly. So I think we'll start by just obviously thanking our sponsors. Soar, really grateful for their supporting the show, helping us bring it to you guys. Really, if you're not aware of them, which I think you'd have, if you struggle not to be aware of Soar by now, looking at all the any club runner who's in a nice vest, it's made by Soar. That's the hint from it. But we're going to dive into a little bit more about their products in this episode, or particularly I'm going to give you a bit of my review of the marathon split shorts, which I wore at my session on Tuesday. So should we?
So October 28th, Monday, October 28th.
Monday, Monday, October 28th. So normally my Mondays, if you weren't aware, Mondays I don't work on Mondays, but I have my son, which is nice boy day. But he goes to playgroup in the morning, like a Welsh playgroup, where he's gonna hopefully learning his Cymraeg. He'll be fluent by the time he's I don't know, he'll be gossiping about me behind my back without being able to know. So I need to stay one step ahead of him, which I think I'm just about doing, but he is 2.5, so that's going to get more difficult. But anyway, the context here is that normally he goes to playgroup, I can go for a run, but it's only term time, and it was half term last week, so that meant I had to get up at Well, I left my run at 5:57, 10 miles, 70 minutes. However, I then got back. Jemima went off to work, and he was having a massive lie-in. Didn't seem to be making any signs of life. He was a bit knackered, I think. So I thought this would be a great chance to start my heat training, which is another podcast episode. We're going to do a dedicated podcast episode on heat versus altitude, really, and like, is heat the new altitude training? And there's a load of good papers out there to suggest that actually you can get very similar adaptations that you'd get from going to altitude by doing heats. And the advantage of heat is that it's much more accessible than going to altitude. Like, even going in an altitude tent, to really get the benefits of being in an altitude tent, you need to be in there 12 hours a day minimum. And that's not practical unless you're an elite athlete, is it? Like, that's just not going to happen. So yeah, trying to do a bit of heat training. Anyway, that was my outlook at the start of the week. We'll get to that later. And for me, that's looking like jumping in a hot bath, 40 degrees, 40 minutes, trying to use it as a heat stimulus. It's pretty horrible. You feel you definitely want to get out by the end. We've both done it. Like, I can talk about it. He's doing it for his study.
It's the line of my research. I think it will come up when we do the whole episode. But yeah, it's not comfy, and it gets worse, doesn't it? At least in my experience, like the first 15 minutes is all right, and then it just builds and builds and builds, and by the end it's pretty bad. And you sort of come up with your own I don't want to say coping strategies. It's not that bad, but your own, like, I guess, protocol for it.
yeah. So anyway, I managed to get that in, and he just woke up. So I did get 40 minutes done, which for me was fine. He's got 40 minutes done, came out nice and sweaty. Then he wakes up, so I'm there like dripping with sweat, coming into his bedroom. So yeah, morning, night, all good for the day. But yeah, cold shower afterwards, cracked on with our day. So it was nice. Good morning of training, and then in the evening, managed to convince him at 5 o'clock that it'd be nice to go out in the buggy. So we went for a run along the canal. And we saw loads of bats, actually. It was dark by now at 5 o'clock, and we saw loads of bats, which he thought was great. He had a great time. Nice and slow, 10k, 45 minutes. What was that, 4:33k? But I was pushing the buggy, so it's a bit slower, but the effort was pretty similar. Heart rate's pretty similar to I'm just going for an easy run. So it was a good Monday, and felt great, actually. Like, specifically remember in the evening going, yeah, you know what? Just done a massive week of training. It was 204k or something last week, 2 big sessions. Feel great, ready for a big session the next morning. So next morning comes around. Wanted to get a big long run in, because I've done it like last week. I did that like 32k fartlek, 3k on, 1k off. So what, but wanted to do something a bit longer. So the aim was like 40k at a decent pace. I hadn't quite worked out the pace. I was just gonna sort of go off of feel, but I was hoping at least like 3:30 k's, but ideally I was thinking a bit faster. Jogged a k warm up, and then aim was 40k, did 35k, and to be honest, it was a decent run. I did 35k. It was 3:24 a k average, which I think works out as 5:29 a mile. But it just felt hard from the start. I was thinking, like I said yesterday, the evening before, I was thinking it'd be I feeling great, ready to go, and just actually before like 20k, I was like, I'm done now. I'd like to finish. Heart rate was probably a little bit higher than I'd like, just not really feeling it. But yeah, and I got to 35k and was like, I think if I push on from a 5k, I'm just gonna get myself in a hole. And actually, I just saw you, didn't I? You'd gone for your easy run, and I was down in Butte Park, and this was not on the treadmill. This is outside. You'll be glad to know. And I was just I just started jogging it in. Then I just think, well, if I'd done another 5k, I'd have really been cooked. I was just finding the effort quite hard, and I thought, well, that would do. So yeah, ended up 35k, 3:24 a k. Which was solid. Not really what that was. I think this was the first session where, like, I think I've said, but last week, that after being ill, every session just felt a bit better. It just been a bit better, and everyone had made progress. And this one felt like gone backwards a bit. I mean, it was still good, like it was fine, but yeah, I was thinking, I was hoping I'd go a bit faster with the heart rate. Average 154, which was all right. But one thing that did go well was for fueling, so managed to get on 117 grams an hour, using the Soar split shorts, the marathon shorts. So although I didn't feel great, the shorts were like fantastic. I've had some I've had like split shorts with like pockets in before, and they've just been not great. Or I've had them where you can put like 4 gels in the back, and then I've had to tie my own loops on the front, and it just popped off, and it's just not been great. But the split, yeah, really, they were everything I was hoping for. Which, you know, obviously I'm going to say that because they're sponsoring a podcast, but honestly, they were really good. I had 2, so you can get 2 gels in each pocket at the back. And then there's 2 sets of loops on the front, so you can put a gel on each side of your hip on the front. And I thought, I've had, you know, when I sewed them on myself, they were just bounced around and they popped out. I was doing Newport Marathon once, and it popped, like one of them just like literally shot off. And I managed to catch it and we ended up running with it for like 10k, and that was not ideal. But no, they were great. And what else was also nice is when you got those gel pockets, when there's like a little zip pocket as well, so you could put like a key in there or something. And yeah, they were great. I think one thing with the split shorts, regardless of the brand or whatever, is when you got loads of pockets on, the secret is to like pull them up so they're sitting like over your hip. Because I think half tights do work better for gels, because like they obviously like they're just more compressed against you. But I don't really like running them, especially if it's going to be warm or hot. Like I don't mind them. I have done them, but I prefer the split shorts. And I think just the fact that split shorts aren't going to be as conducive to running in gels, with gels in them, like they can get quite heavy, like they can bounce around a bit. But actually, I find that if you like have it just over, like sitting over your hip, be like, you know, high waisted shorts, and then nice and tight, didn't have any movement at all. They were really, really good. So that was a good positive. Kit check done. I'll wear them for race day. That's confirmed. So that's nice.
So similar question to last week, and Sean McAnalan. Sorry if I've pronounced the name wrong there, Sean. He's beaten me to it in your Strava comments. But yeah, so he's asking about durability again. If we're talking physiology again, what sort of again the aim with this session? I'm assuming it's going to be again durability, but
yeah, I mean, like
VO2 is going to creep up, isn't it, during this sort of length effort?
Yeah, and I think actually, if you compare this session to the fight like I did last week, so the 32k, 3k on, 1k off, like this actually made me reflect. Doing this session made me reflect on that actually, because this was much more about durability, and that if I look at like time in zones, well, the average heart rate was 154, whereas I averaged I think like 159 last time. But I'm just getting up my Garmin account here, like I only spent, 80 minutes of it nearly was in what you'd call zone 2. So actually only 40 minutes was in like zone 3 or above LT1, and like actually max heart rate was like 165, which was probably for a minute or two. Most of it was like I didn't actually spend that much time above LT1, so it was more of a durability one. But that was why I was a bit annoyed that I couldn't get to 40k, because I felt like that would have really pushed the durability aspect of it, in terms of then you're getting just another 5k, and like you think, oh, it's only 5k, only what 16 odd minutes of running, but actually that's the bit that matters. It's not like it's the first 16 minutes doesn't matter that much. With the last 16 minutes, when things are really starting to fall apart a bit, that's what you want to train, I guess, in these long runs. So you know, it's still a good bit of a stimulus, but what was I running for? I was running for an hour 59 minutes. So if I'd managed to continue on for the other 5k, which I could have done, I just think it would have been counterproductive. But it would have been like 2 hours 16 of running. That would have been like, you know, over the duration I'd be running for the marathon. That would have been nice. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to make a difference in terms of like the training. But yeah, definitely more of a durability. Someone else asked, didn't they? I'm stealing your questions now. think someone else said, are you accustomed to doing this sort of stuff? Is it something new, or is it something you've done before? And it's actually something I've done. I think ever since I did my first proper marathon, I was doing, like, back when I worked in miles, I would always do a 20 mile or a 22 mile hard. But I think what is different now is that I used to push it more. So I'd be running a pretty similar pace to that, but the cost would be much higher.
Yeah.
I would be pretty much, I'd be doing like 20 miles at marathon pace, or just slower. I was running like 22 mile. I remember doing, well, I think before I ran 2:18, I did 22 miles at 2:18 pace. And yeah, the heart rate is that, the example I gave, I averaged 154. I think I was average at like 162 heart rate, and I average 165, 166 for a marathon. And in those last 4 miles, it's going to be even higher because of a drip. So I basically did about a marathon pace. And I just think that was too much. It was too hard. I just wouldn't get. I think it was the recovery cost was just too high. You don't recover from it. It's risky in terms of injury, illness, overtraining. So, I have always done it. I've now do them a bit slower, but still pretty hard. So it's obviously harder than just going out for an easy long run. And like I said, I wanted to finish. I did finish early. But yeah, I think there's definitely benefits to doing those sort of efforts, but it's making sure you don't overcook it. That's the balance, I think.
Yeah.
So again, 100%. I'm looking at the heart rate. I wanted to average sort of what I did. I was just hoping the pace would be a bit quicker than it was. And so the heart rates were all right. I was just feeling a bit crap, to be honest.
So then just one other question with this session from James that sent this in. So I mean, we've talked about what you took on during the session, but then what are you eating afterwards? He's alluded to it here, but yeah, you're going straight to work afterwards. So what are you doing after this sort of big session?
I'm pretty standard with my breakfasts. Luckily we've got microwave and work, so that's great. So massive bowl of porridge, chucking in loads of peanut butter, so a bit of protein, bit of fat. There's more just calories, I think. I like to chuck some blueberries in there. That's my favorite mix. Like some antioxidants, maybe. I don't know. I just like the taste. But yeah. But the other thing is, like, although I think it's definitely important to fuel after this sort of session, but I took on 200 grams of carbs in this run, which is 800 calories, which is actually, that's obviously I would have burnt about 2,200 calories in that run. So actually taking on 800 during a run, well, actually now is nowhere near as big a deficit as you would have been. You're still going to get the fuel in, but I don't tend to feel like eating when I've really fueled a long run because you've just had so much sugar. But yeah, that's my go-to. And the other thing is, because I'm not going to do something else that day, it's actually easier, I think, to refuel from. Like the ones where it gets a bit trickier is when I've done still quite a big session in the morning, then you want to double in the evening, and you need to get the fuel in. Then that becomes quite tricky because the actual sum of the day is often not much less than one big long run. I probably haven't fueled those during those sessions as well necessarily. Sometimes I will have, but then it's just that's when I've run into trouble before. Like go out for the second run of a day and actually end up having a bit of a hyper and a bit of a wobbly. And you go, I haven't got this quite right here. Especially because you don't want to eat just before you run, or I can't eat and then just go run out the door. You feel pretty rubbish, don't you?
Yeah.
But this one I was like, well, I'm going to have 24 hours of recovery basically. I'm not going to do anything until the next day, so that's a bit easier. Yeah.
I think you did a bath again that night, right? So
I did do a bath again that night. You're right. Yeah, I sent you a video, didn't I, of me suffering?
Yeah.
What was that video before? Yeah. 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 So I got in the bath. That's the thing I did. I thought, well, if I'm not training the evening, I've got a window. I can get in the bath. Like Joanne went off to I put Night to bed. Joanne went off to her running club that she goes to. And I did a 40-minute stint in the bath, which was great fun. I guess the other thing to add for that morning is although I didn't do a 40k, I did a k warm up, and I had to jog 3k home after bailing, so I ended up doing 39k. So it's still a big morning.
You bailed about the furthest point from your car, so
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Well, in my head, I was just going to do. I'll try and trick myself. So I ended up just doing. I did a couple of loops on like an out and back stretch, which ends up being like 12k. I think to the loop, it's about 7-ish miles, 12k. And I did 2 loops of that, and then the satellites were being a bit rubbish. There's a bit twisty at the other end. There's a few like little gates you need to get through, not like closed gates, but they're like switchbacky things to stop, motorbikes go along there. And that was slowing me down. And I was just getting pissed off at the heart rate was an average heart rate for each K was the same, but I dropped like 5 seconds a K going around this little bit. And I was like, right, I'm just going to do the mile loop in Butte Park. And I kept trying to kid myself. I'll just do one more and then I'll head back to the car to try and get myself up to the 40k. But no, then I had to jog 3k home. But yeah, I just didn't feel great. And actually, to be honest, after that session, I felt pretty beaten up, despite it actually on paper looking easier and like it should have cost me less from that part like I did the week before. And that was sort of a sign of things to come, really. I sort of developed a bit of a sore throat after that. I was a bit tired, and was just struggling a bit. And I didn't know if it was just like the mileage or like all adding up on me, but it was just the fact that Monday I felt great, and then today I felt that Tuesday I felt pretty awful. Certainly afterwards, like I was struggling, I was flagging, and didn't know if it was just mileage or whatever. But yeah, the next day I was just, I'd say it's probably just like a cold. I reckon like if I hadn't done loads of training and I hadn't been a bit sleep deprived from trying to fit all the training in, probably would have barely noticed it. But just a bit of a cold, bit mucusy, bit of a sore throat. This is a Wednesday now. Still managed to get 16k done in the morning, but flagging now. And then in the afternoon, I did 10k on the treadmill again. Knew I wasn't going to get in the bath this day, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a layered treadmill run, which was great fun. So in the gym at Cardiff Met, I had my leggings on, I had a long sleeve top on, I had a fleece on, I had a jacket on, I had a hat on. And the problem I was finding was even with all those on, I wasn't getting the same heat stimulus. I was feeling uncomfortably warm, but I didn't feel hot like I was in the bath. And normally I'm going around 420 a k, 7-minute mile-ish pace. And I tried pushing it up to 15k an hour, which is 4-minute k, 627 a mile, to try and get a bit more heat. But even then, finding it just like, I would think I'd have to work pretty hard to get the same heat dose. So I actually think the baths are better, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we'll discuss it in the podcast, but I think there's actually probably more drawbacks to doing. What's the words completely slipped my mind. Doing your training in heat versus doing a bath or a sauna. I think there's quite a lot of drawbacks to doing it. Where if you have the time and the resource, then doing a bath or a sauna is a bit better, I think. You've sort of run into the issue where you're balancing what you're trying to achieve. Like, are you trying to get 40 minutes of running, or are you trying to get a heat stimulus? And then they sort of just conflict with each other, and you get a bit of a heat stimulus, but then it throws off the running, and you end up running either too intense biomechanically because you have to speed up, or because of the heat and because your body's actually trying to dissipate the heat, then it pushes the intensity of the run too hard. So I think, I mean, we'll talk about it when we actually do a podcast about it, but I think there's more upsides to doing bath and sauna, and keeping it separate from your training.
And I was definitely getting a much more of a drift in heart rate than I normally would. Like I drifted. I'm just looking here, like after 2k I was like 120 beats per minute, and by the end I was at 139. So I did get a good amount of drift in heart rate. But I
mean, that's sort of to be expected, right? Like that's the that's the physiological response you would expect if you're hotter, that your heart rate would increase. So,
and so it was,
and then if you're using that as your guide, then that throws that out, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it was a heat. I was getting some sort of heat stimulus, but I didn't feel intuitively like it was hot enough to really get response. Like compared to the bath, it was just didn't feel like it was touching the sides. And obviously, I haven't got a core body temperature like sensor of any kind during this. I'm going off of feel, but I've done the bath quite a few times and felt like, you know what, this isn't giving me the same. Like you said, it's starting to affect the actual quality of the training, but I'm having to run harder than I really want to. My legs are feeling pretty tired. I did 40k the day before. I don't feel like it was doing what I wanted, which was a shame because it was going to be my my secret to getting in heat training was like doubling it up with actually doing my runs. So I'm going to do both from time wise perspective, but I actually don't think it was not. I'm glad I did it because that was nice to know. And I think it would influence what I would suggest to people beforehand. Having not done it, I'd have said, oh yeah, it's probably quite a good option. Having now done it, I'd go, I think it's probably more cost than it's worth. I think if you're preparing specifically for a hot race where the conditions can be hot, you want to do some running where it feels hot, because even like without the adaptations, like psychologically, you want to experience that. But if you're doing it for the hemoglobin or the blood volume adaptations that we'll talk about more on a separate podcast, then I don't think it's ideal, to be honest.
Yeah, that's sort of the crux of it, isn't it? That's what we'll cover next time.
Yeah. So that's Wednesday. As I said, starting to feel not just a bit tired, a bit like I'm getting a cold. And actually, managed to push through that heated treadmill session, but then I was just a bit knackered, to be honest, and decided that actually, if I was going to get up on Thursday morning at 6 a.m. to go run, it would just be counterproductive. Didn't really have any other issue was I didn't really have any other time in the day to run, so I just decided that, you know what, it's not worth digging myself into a hole, like I've always said. Doing one 10-mile run is not going to make a difference. Like in terms of the build up, I'd prefer to recuperate and go again. Problem is, I woke up and actually felt worse. Definitely got a bit of a cold, bit mucusy again, not like I was before, like a couple of weeks ago, but just a bit feeling like not just tired from training, but bit of a runny nose. My voice has started to go a bit. Still, I went out for 30 minutes, 4:40 in a K. Thought, well, I'm hoping if I just have just one easy day here, I can then get back into it, because I wanted to do a big session on the Friday, and didn't think I was that bad, and I wasn't that bad. Got up Friday morning, never really bad night of Nye. I had a really bad night of Nye before the Tuesday session as well, and he just didn't sleep. Classic. Got up, warmed up, felt all right. I tried on my new On shoes, which I got from Pacing Philly around Berlin, and they felt great. Like I'm gonna get them, gonna give a lab at some hopefully this week coming and test them out. But yeah, warmed up. First sign that things weren't going great is that, I don't know about you have it on your phone or your watch or not, but like when the Garmin gives you like
the performance condition,
that
makes or breaks my run.
Yeah,
I just quit if it's bad.
But the thing is, for me, so it only comes on if your heart rate goes over 130. And I'm never doing my easy runs at above 130. Like if I might touch it, but like later on in my run, and I think it's something like only the first 20 minutes it's only looking at the first 20 minutes of your run. So the big flag for me was I'm doing my 2K warm up, and I'm running it at like an all right pace. I average like 3:54 and that pops up and goes poor. And I'm like, oh crap! The fact that it popped up at all is a sign that things aren't great. Because I never would see that in a warm up. I would see it at the start of the session sometimes, but normally I don't see that at all. It's about popped up. I was like, legs feel all right, but the heart rate is definitely high. And then the second red flag was stop that activity, start another one for my session, which was hoping to do 24k of 1k on, 1k off. So I've got my satellites waiting for the start line. I'm looking at my watch, my resting heart rate there sitting at 80, and I'm like 80, just standing around. I've warmed up, but normally it's down at like 50, even having warmed up and like being sat there ready to go. It's like 80, that seems a bit high. We'll go with it. I did 1k, and so I pulled my session up here, and I did right in 316, and I thought, that 316 pops off my auto lap. I'm like, shit, that's that. I was going into the session, I was thinking, I reckon if I could go 303, 304, and then like go like 325 or something. Considering I did like, I averaged 324k, feeling pretty bad on that 35k run, and then last week I'd been doing like the 3k efforts in like 314. I was thinking, I'm going to be going way faster than that, and it felt really hard going 316. I thought, well, maybe it's just my first rep, I'll give it a go. Floated, and like I was thinking, right, well, I'll be floating in like well under 330s. It was 335, feeling shit. I'm like, right, I'll go one more. See if the second one effort, you've warmed up a bit, and it was 320. I was like, nah, that's it, I'm done. There's no point. If I could have I think I could have pushed on and done 24k going like 320, 335, but that would have not been helpful. I don't think I would have just like, things weren't right. It's not just I was tired and fatigued. It was just it was just a bad day, or the conditions just weren't great. I was just like, not working normally. We're going to cut that short, not dig myself a hole. And that was basically what I did for the day. So 2k warm up, 3k of 1k on, 1k off, 1k on, 3k cool down, and thought, right, consolidate. Because by now my voice had gone. I was talking to athletes in the lab, and it's noisy anyway in the lab, and you've got the treadmill going and the fans going here, testing them, and I don't think they could hear me. My voice was just going. It was like I was like a teenage boy with my voice kept breaking, and like going really high pitched. So that was Friday. But again, not awful, just like not quite right, and decided, but let's just consolidate this. So I think I said already, I think if I hadn't done 200k week and actually been really sleep deprived, because I'd been feeling just like knackered, just like sleep deprived, like not enough sleep, knackered, and then if I hadn't had that going on, I think I would have barely noticed, but I had a bit of a cold or whatever. My throat was a bit sore, but actually it wasn't bad. I could still run. Like Saturday again, so Friday night, went to bed at 9:30, woke up at 9:30, so got a solid 12 hours sleeping. And I was like, definitely needed that. I think I've averaged probably about 6.5 the last I don't know, 4 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks. And but my issues being I'll go to bed at a normal time, go to bed at 10 or whatever, try and go to bed a bit earlier, but then now I will wake up or in the night, and I've got to get up early to train. And it's only so early I can go to bed because I've got stuff to do, and I'm off to training in the evening as well. It's just busy life, isn't it? I'll finish off the week before I start moaning a bit more. So Saturday I did 40 minutes on the trails, 444k, but we were in Gower this weekend seeing Jemima's family, so that was nice, and it was a bit of distraction as well, so did that. And that was nearly 24 hours off. Well, there was a good chunk of time off because I did that in the evening, so I hadn't run since the previous morning. So what's that, 36 hours off or something? I don't know. So did that Saturday. I felt pretty groggy after sleeping for 12 hours, but actually Sunday woke up and actually felt pretty normal. Didn't want to do anything crazy. So again, on my trails, I did an hour. I went through in like 4x30-second hills just because I was a bit bored. And I thought bit of mechanical stimulus, bit of a metabolic stimulus without really hurting myself. Because then I went and did another hour of Jemima running easy. So did 2 hours, 3 minutes of running. Grade adjusted pace of 5 or 60k. Average heart rate was well down at like 111 or something. But legs felt pretty tired, but I felt well again. And that was nice to wrap up the week having felt back to normal really. Wouldn't want to do anything like hard that day, but yeah, felt all right. So that was the week. A bit frustrating, but could have been worse. Managed to still run every day. I still ran 137k,
10 hours of training. Yeah,
nearly 10 hours of training.
Yeah. I mean, if you count the baths, well over 10 hours.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah. We'll talk a bit about the baths, but I think I've come to I think just struggling with the training loads and everything else going on. My conclusion was I can't get the baths in. It's just going to be too much. I felt like
it's too late as well, isn't it?
And that's the thing. I missed like you need to do it for a certain amount of time. I've not missed that window now. I think so I did 3 consecutive days and then didn't do anything the rest of the week. Like I just didn't think I wasn't going to be able to. It wasn't going to be what I needed to help me recover from whatever my minor bug and just training and sleep and whatever. So yeah. I think I've just to wrap that on my head. I do think it's can be really valuable and add a lot, but this time around it's just not gonna fit in. It's one of those ones. If you're a pro athlete and you got loads of time, one of the questions I saw, I can't remember if it was on a podcast or on Strava or somewhere, was like you said, I think on a previous episode I said not hardly any elite athletes are doing more than 15 hours of training a week. What are they doing with their time? Compared to like the cyclists who are doing 30 plus hours a week of training. Well, I think they're resting a lot more, but there's other stuff you can do, like doing the heat stimulus. They're getting in the gym quite a bit. A lot of athletes, and just chilling out. To be honest, it does take more out of you running than cycling. Like that's a whole episode in itself, I think.
Yeah. We've had a few cross training questions. I think we're just gonna do a bunch on those, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good episode just to have it itself. Like how can cross training help or not help running performance? I think we'll do an episode about at some point. But yeah, I guess thoughts for the week could have been a lot worse. It was fine. Like got the Tuesday session in, and actually I made the right decisions. If I tried to push through, I would have been completely cooked by this week. I wouldn't have been in a state to put another good week of training in. Whereas now actually I feel like I'm over the little bug I had. My body feels a bit better and ready to take on another 2 weeks of training before the taper, which is like as soon as I started to feel a bit rough, I was like, well, yeah, that should be the goal for this week, is just get back to things next week. And I feel like that's done.
I mean, when we started this series, we said, we'll talk about your training for this series, but as much as anything, it's the training that's gone on before this. It's going to make the difference as well. So yeah, like it's not ideal this far out from the marathon, but you're not coming into this just having gone from 0 to like 12 weeks out, started running sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's only one small piece of the puzzle. And actually, I was saying to one of my athletes I was coaching this week, on one of our updates, like a big flag for me is seeing an athlete who's gone right. In my, using me as an example, like they've gone 200k every single week for 8 weeks straight, or 12 weeks straight, or whatever you can see on Strava. Like for me, that's a big red flag, because you're telling me that somewhere in that block they were feeling like god awful, and they weren't feeling like awful, and they just pushed on. Like there's no way on earth that anyone gets through that amount of time without some reason that they probably should have deloaded their training a bit, but they've just pushed on. To me, that's often a sign that actually they're probably going to underperform come race day, because that's not how life works, and that's not how your body works, it's not how biology works. Like there's so many just like fluctuations. Like you can't control the load that much. Like in a winter you get bugs, and even just without illness being thrown in, there's just gonna be times where you need to back off, and it's much better to make the decision to back off than push through. I think that's like, just cut your losses, live to fight another day, get back to it.
I guess maybe one last question for me before we wrap up. So 2 weeks out from Valencia, are you gonna take any sort of mitigations against illness? Wearing a mask. I know you know, like some people are able to work from home, sort of thing. You're not able to do that. You come into contact with a lot of people, and a lot of people that are sort of incentivized to come into contact with you because they paid to get tested. Well, even on the flights out to Valencia, you thinking about wearing a mask or anything, or
I think it's
smashing loads of vitamin C?
I think it's the basics, isn't it? Like just making sure you wash your hands all the time. Like I'm like you said, I'm doubly exposed because I've got working in university where there's where you just come into contact with lots of people, and then I got a kid in nursery who just climbs over. There's germs everywhere. Like you can't avoid it. So I think one of my thoughts was, you know what? Next year I'm going to run Berlin because you get to train through the summer. Like I'd not been ill at all, and now I've had like two things in the case of like 3 or 4 weeks. But that's partly because it's probably partly because of the amount of training I'm doing as well. But I think it's just doing the basics, like trying to wash your hands. Yeah, maybe masks on the flight. Probably a good idea. I mean, I'm going to a wedding in a couple of weeks. That's not ideal, but I can't not go to a friend's wedding. So, yeah, I think there's only so much you can do, isn't it? There's only so much you can do. I guess one thing I had thought was actually although you don't want to, you go, it's 2 weeks out or 4 weeks out, from a marathon, not ideal. There are two things that made me happier, or not happier, but I was more at peace this time around having to deload a bit compared to last time, because last time I'd done like early in my block, I did Cardiff half, didn't I? And then I did nothing for I just jogged for 4 days. Ben was going to do a session. Ben got ill, so I ended up actually missing a big chunk of training. Whereas this time, I'd done a 200k week before, so I'd obviously had a load in the system, which I can recover from. But actually, it was more than that. It actually ended up in the 14 days prior, I'd averaged like 204k. It's just like from one weekend to next. The first 3 days of my training this week were normal, and then building up that week prior, I did 180k. So I ended up being like a really big, massive 14 days of training where I've been averaging over 30k a day. So I think it was actually quite good for my body to rest up from that. And then Jemima was saying to me, Dan, you always get ill at this point in the marathon block, like 4 weeks out, you always get ill. And I was like, oh yeah, I think you're right. And I went back to Valencia last year, and exactly 4 weeks out, I had exactly the same thing. I was worse. I'd done nothing that week really. I think I did 110k with a lab test, and that was it. And my lab test went badly. Then I got ill and missed a load of training. Well, not a load of training, but like deloaded, not doing as much as I wanted. And I still ended up running 2:15. So just having that was nice to go back and look through and go, you know what, you were in a much worse place last time, turned it around and ran at the time you ran a PB. So yeah, I'm sort of framing it as you did a 2 week block, you've had a really good training. Well, it was like 3 week block of really good training, recovered for 4 days, whatever, deloaded a bit. And then now I'm Monday, back to it, another 2 week block of really good training. Hopefully, I just get back to consistency and then taper. And I think there's something to be said for that. Like I said, some variation in the training load, not digging yourself into a hole, just like varying it up. I don't think, like I said, everyone goes, right, it's gonna be a perfect training block, and every week is just gonna be like great session after great session and really consistent. And it's not how it works, is it? And I actually think, like I said, some variation is probably good. gives the body a bit of deload, and yeah. So actually, pretty positive, really. Especially like midweek when I was going, oh, I'm feeling crap, and like, is Valencia Marathon even going to happen? And like, yeah, I was getting a bit miserable, but feeling refreshed, feeling better, feeling ready to go.
Yeah, back on it this week.
Back on it this week, yeah, back on it.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there for now. So we'll catch everyone again in a week's time with another update.
Yeah, Ben's getting serious. 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, catch everyone again soon.
Yeah. See you soon, guys.